Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 80 of the Solosaurus podcast. I'm Michael Eckenfels.
And I'm the mechanical version of Martin Gonzalez.
And I'm Ben Morayta.
And I'm Dustin Culbertson.
And today on the show, as you can tell, we are very pleased to have our guests, Benjamin Morayta Franklin, designer of Mechanical Beast, a solo puzzle game on Kickstarter right now as we record, and publisher Dustin Culbertson of Side Room Games, who specialize in high quality solo games. Thank you for being here, gentlemen. We'll get to our interview in just a moment, but first a word from our sponsor. This podcast is brought to you by Stone Valley Games, your friendly, distant game store. Check them out at stonevalleygames.com. It's a great shop because most of their games over there are great for solo players like us, and they're always adding new content to their storefront. It's very important for our hobby to support a small family-run solo-friendly game store such as this. And so as we have an interview here, we're not going to do any solo news. So let's just jump right into it. So Ben, Dustin, welcome to the show, of course. Thank you for being here. And why don't you please tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you got involved in solo games. Ben, why don't you lead off and then followed by Dustin.
Thank you for having us. Well, I have been playing games since I can remember. And my siblings are 5 and 7 years older than me, so I was always by myself and trying to play games and trying to convince them. So I figured out why not playing them myself. I didn't know about solo games and how big they were back then. Well, back then probably there weren't as many, but as I rediscovered them a few years ago, I dove nose first into them, into all the solo gaming culture.
Very good. What year was that when you started?
When I started back, probably 2017.
Oh, okay. So
Recent.
Okay, cool. And Dustin, go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of same for me. Played games all my life growing up. Me and my family would always play card games and stuff like that. And then, obviously, like most people, played Settlers of Catan for the first time back when I was maybe in my early 20s, and was like, wow, this game is amazing. It's way better than all the other stuff I played when I was a kid. So, kind of got into games there. And then, about the same time that we were thinking about starting our own publishing company, me and my friends, I kind of got into some solo games and found the solo design contest on Board Game Geek. And the more I kind of dove into some of those different games and the designs, the more impressed I was. And then that's kind of where we saw Black Sonata, and the rest is history, as they say.
That is awesome. Hey, this is Martin, and Ben, I have a question for you. But before we get into that, I just want to say on a personal note, I'm super excited to finally be talking to you. I think as you've been involved in the solo game design contests on BGG and various communities, my own print and play website, I feel like we already know each other, but this is actually the first time we're speaking. So I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I just want to say that on a personal note. And maybe we can reveal some other things that Ben and I are collaborating on or will be collaborating on as in the future as this conversation unfolds. But I have a question for you here. Your game, Mechanical Beast, is on Kickstarter as we speak. We are recording on Sunday, June the 6th. And how many more? Does it have a couple more weeks on Kickstarter?
Yeah, it goes until the 24th, I think.
Great. Yeah, this episode will probably get edited and recorded while it's still on, so that's going to be great. And at the moment, it's already been funded at 4 times your funding goal, so congratulations for that. Ben, yeah, why don't you tell us more about your game, why folks should check it out, and how does it feel to be part of a successful Kickstarter? I think this is your first one.
Yeah, it is my first one, and I still can't believe it. It's an imposter syndrome. What is the game? It's a basic tile laying game. You start building a maze of sorts, but the thing that is unique about it is that as you progress building this maze, you can manipulate the tiles. You can move the rooms around, reshape the paths that you have. The goal of the game is to go into the mechanical beast, into a giant robot, and you have to explore until you find an off switch. After that, you the beast starts turning off, but as it turns off, the rooms around you start collapsing. It starts getting smaller and smaller. So you have to make your way back into the exit and out of the beast before time runs out.
Wow.
It's two very distinct phases of the game, or feels to the game, and the manipulation, the reshaping of the rooms. If you like spatial puzzles, you will probably like this game, because you
Yeah,
need
it
to
sounds
figure
like
out how to get to the path that you want to go.
Yeah, it sounds like the first half of the game is kind of like that, cerebral manipulation puzzle, spatial puzzle, and then when you successfully find the off switch, then it's a race to get out as soon as
Yeah.
possible. That's kind of cool. That's awesome. All right, thanks for that, Ben. Michael.
Dustin, your company Side Room Games is behind this successful Kickstarter. You also have had previous successes with the solo games Maquis by Jake Staines, Orchard by Mark Tuck, and Black Sonata Fallen Angels by John Keane. So, what do you think is the secret to all of these successful Kickstarter campaigns for solo games that you have run so far?
I think the biggest part is that we've been able to find really good solo games that have actually, they start off in the Board Game Geek design contests, and so they get a lot of feedback early on. And then as that feedback happens, sort of that built-in audience grows, and it really helps to create some very unique games. Whereas there's just games that aren't really out there like some of these, and that the combination of that, along with sort of building that audience that we have been able to do for our solo audience, as it has sort of slowly, that audience in general has built over the last handful of years, and we've been able to sort of tap into that, and I think the audience knows us and know that when we come out with games that are designed for solo play, they trust us, and that kind of helps kind of continue to build that audience. And what we always try to do is make sure that when we put a game out there, it is ready to go. It's been through the rigors. It's something that we really think is unique and adds something to the audience and to the industry that's not been done before. And so we kind of keep striving for that, and that's sort of what our primary goal really is.
That's very interesting to me because it sounds like the games go, as you said, go through the ringers, but they're going through the ringers with the gamers and not necessarily the developer or the designer of the project. So, I'm kind of going through that as I manage my own project for another game company, and it's like just going through their resources and their people and their playtesters. But here it's the community, right? It's Board Game Geek. It's hundreds of thousands of people that are trying this out, and it sounds like these games are much smoother in that regard through here.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. Cool. You get that situation where it's the unbiased feedback, and honestly, everybody's just really trying to help people make better games, and so it really helps foster that creative spot that you need as a designer, and sometimes it gives you second or third looks that you hadn't thought about. And like with Black Sonata, if you go through the work in progress thread on Board Game Geek, you can see how it evolved and grew and just became this amazing game and design that just never seen before.
Yeah, Black Sonata blows my mind. Just the calculations that went into that game, it hurts my mind even thinking about it. It's pretty amazing how it works.
I just want to say, on a personal note, as somebody who has participated every so often in the solo game design contest, I'll second everything that Dustin said, and it's a really great community of just fellow designers helping fellow designers out, playing each other's games, making prototypes, sometimes multiple prototypes of each other's games, and just reading the rule books. Oh, so many rule book revisions. Oh my gosh, I think the one I submitted in 2018 had like 14 different revs of the rule book, and some really harsh
Easily.
feedback. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Ben, maybe, I don't know if you'll agree with me that probably what people don't realize is one of the hardest things about game design is actually writing the rule book.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's not so much writing it, but making sense.
Right. Because it makes sense to us.
Exactly. The first versions are just a rant of someone trying to figure out a bunch of things to do in the game.
It's always helpful to get somebody else's perspective, and then they make you see, oh wow, yeah, I didn't put as much detail as I should. I should have put an example there. That made sense in my head when I wrote it. What was I thinking? So,
Yeah.
all right, Ben, this is a question for you. And as I alluded to earlier, you have been an active and frequent participant in the solo game design contest on BGG. I think 2018 the first year that you participated.
No, 2019 actually. It
2019,
was
gotcha.
Mechanical Beast was my first participation in that contest,
And it won that contest, right? If I'm not
and
mistaken.
it won.
Mhm.
It won, absolutely. I was super happy. And now you are one of the folks stepping up to keep the 2021 Solo Game Design Contest alive, up and running. It is a time of transition. Folks who have been kind of running it in the past are moving on to other things, or they don't have time to participate this year. So you've really took a leadership role in the game design thread or the game contest thread and stepped up there. Um, and I thank you for your efforts. And I am happy to partner with you in whatever small way, so that we can make sure that this. In many ways, I think somebody else said that the solo game design contest is the marquee game design contest every year.
Yeah,
A lot of people look forward to it, and it attracts the most number of participants. I think we've had in the previous years over 50 game designs or 50 entries.
yeah.
So
Last
that's
year,
going to be
it were like 80 or
80.
something.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's crazy. Back in my day when I started in 2018, boy, we only had 30 participants.
I'm so
Please,
proud.
please.
Martin doing voices now.
Michael's infected me with the voices. So Ben, please share with us what the BGG game design contest and that community has meant for your personal development as a solo game designer.
Personally, it's not about the contest or even about the game that I enter there. It's about the community, about being together, getting together with a bunch of designers. As you said, it's designers helping designers
Right.
do better games, right? Uh, Last year, I entered with the only game I had at hand, and it wasn't great. It wasn't the best of my games. It did better than I expected, but yeah, it wasn't the best game. But just being in the contest, playing all the different games, getting all the feedback and all the ideas floating around for every game, it's super inspiring to many other things, many other designs that you are working on, or you get ideas, you get uh, better ways to dealing with stuff that you are dealing with for other games. So to me, it's an invaluable tool to be better as a game designer. Just participating in any of these contests, as you say, the solitaire is probably the biggest one right now, but any other of the contests is an awesome experience.
Hmm. I couldn't agree more. 100%. It's great. Whenever you see work in progress threads pop up by new designers outside of the context of a contest on BGG, sometimes you feel bad because they struggle They struggle to get recognition. They struggle to get other people looking at the thread. They struggle to get playtesting. But when you're inside of a contest, that all changes, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so uh, I think the contests are invaluable, and it was a great introduction and experience for me. So awesome, Michael. I believe you have a question for Dustin.
Yes, indeed. So, Dustin, it seems that there's a common thread among the games that Sideroom Games selects to develop for Kickstarter campaigns. They're solo, they focus on strong game design, highly thematic, board game geek game design contest award winners. We kind of touched on this in the last question, but this kind of wants to just drill in a little bit more. So, can you tell us anything about your philosophy and process and how you actually select the specific games that you want to support?
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, like I mentioned, it's very important uh, to make sure that the games that we look at are not only unique, but also have been through sort of that process of design, feedback, um, not built in a bubble, and that's kind of what we've been focusing on. Of all the games we've published, all of them except for one have been in Board Game Geek design contests. We have a handful that are under contract that we're looking for. We're doing some development on. Will come out probably later this year and early into next in 22. That are all have been contest related. I think we only have actually one other one that isn't. That's sort of a bigger project that we're working on for next year. But we really think that like the design contest is invaluable because, like we mentioned, everybody's mentioned it gives you an opportunity to get feedback from third parties who are just focused on helping you make a better game, and so it's huge for us. And one of the big things one of our philosophies also coming into this was we wanted to make games and highlight designers who haven't been published before, and so I think most of the folks that we've worked with, it's their first published game because there's so many good game designers out there that you see throughout the contests, and we've gotten submissions from other folks that there's just a ton of really awesome stuff, unique stuff out there that we want to get behind. And so that's our main goal, is to find those sort of, those hidden gems that no one would ever see except for maybe a handful of people who are browsing through a forum. And we want to take those gems and just kind of just bring them to the broader audience. And so that's been one of the biggest goals, and we've been able to do that. And I think we should be able to continue to do that. So.
Good. Well, do you find yourselves having to put the brakes on sometimes? I mean, you probably get overwhelmed with the number of excellent titles out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. For example, I think, and so we run one of the contests on BG. It's the 54 card contest, and last year, year before, and definitely this year, there are just too many games. And so actually, a handful of games we just couldn't sign just because we just don't have the bandwidth. But they've been picked up by other publishers, and we've just thrown all of our support we can. And so we spread the word. And like I said, I think each year there's, of the, however many entries there are, maybe, 40, 50 entries, handfuls are getting published, and some are by us and some are other folks. And we couldn't be happier that we can help kind of help push designers and give them the process to be able to develop some of these really cool titles and get them out to the community.
That's great. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I think we're entering the more kind of lightning round portion of the questions here that we wrote. So I'll ask a question, and then one or the other can weigh in. So Ben and Dustin, what was the first game that really made an impact on you and then shaped who you are as a solo gamer today? Ben, why don't you start us off?
That's a very hard question. I think, as I said, I was a very avid board gamer when I was a kid, but it was more mass market, more Life and Monopoly and
right.
all of those. And I would get some weird titles like a S'mores game or Pac-Man or just looking for something different, for something more creative, for something, but they were all in the same vein, nothing really innovative. And until around 2017, I rediscovered the passion and discovered the modern board games. So I'm I'm still in that exploration phase,
Right.
trying to get as many. I have a collection problem, uh,
Yeah.
flowing
Yeah.
flowing
Same
out of
here.
my of my shelves. But yeah, I'm a big fan of unique mechanics, of things
Hmm.
that work differently. Like if I play a deck builder, most deck building stuff, even though they feel different, they are the same thing. They are the same mechanic, and I enjoy it. I enjoy playing them. I enjoy the theme and immersion and whatever other mechanics are around that play with it. But what really calls to my attention is the when there's a unique mechanic, when there's something that hasn't been done, that um, is playing with something that doesn't exist
Right.
in any other game.
Yeah. It's got that twist. Something
Yeah,
something unique and interesting.
correct.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
didn't answer your solo gaming question, but I think the one that I enjoy the most right now is Spirit Island.
Oh
With
yeah.
I played with three spirits,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
it's a brain burner.
Sure. You'll fry an egg on your head after that.
Probably 3-4 hours of gaming.
Yeah, I can't. I play with one spirit, and already I'm just like afterward I feel drained.
Yeah.
And I play with the easiest spirit, the lightning one. All right, Dustin, how about you? What was the first game that really made an impact on you and shaped who you are as a solo gamer?
Uh, I think from a solo perspective, it really was when I printed out Black Sonata.
Mm.
I think it was shortly after the contest, and I was kind of cruising through all the different BGG contests, and I think I had an entry in maybe the 9 card contest around that time as well. And but I printed it out and I played it. And I remember playing it on a lunch break at my office, and I just was sitting there like I don't understand how this works, but it's blowing me away. And I'm like,
Right.
I've never seen something in a board game where it was just such a unique puzzle. And I love different types of puzzles. And so it scratched that itch. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like I didn't realize there were games out here like this that you could, you know, small board games where you could just put it down and just dive in and just get yourself immersed in a little story and it just be so unique. And so that was definitely the one for me. And then since then, we've obviously between the ones we published and tested out, and I've been buying all kinds of stuff. So, but that was definitely the first one for me.
Absolutely. And learn a little bit about Shakespeare on the bargain,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, and that's John is amazing. Like he did this little
Is
background booklet on the Dark Lady, sort of myth
yeah,
and all the different characters, and it's just like, how does he? I don't
yeah.
understand. It's amazing.
No, that is amazing. I mean, anyone listening, if you've not played Black Sonata by John Keane, you really owe it to yourself too. And by the way, I own a copy of the published version, and it is a beautiful and understated production. Like, not a lot of components, but what there are just very, very nice and very appropriate. So great
Mm.
job as well on the production.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Michael, what do you got?
I agree on Black Sonata. I've got the game myself as well as the expansion. So great, great stuff. So, question for both of you: what is one solo game out there now that you wish you had designed yourself, and why? It could be an idea you had that you never jumped on. It could be something similar to something else that somebody else did. I mean, just in general, what's one that you wish you had designed? And Ben, why don't you start?
I kind of want to. I still have that itch, and maybe one day I will develop it more. I kind of want to design a story-based game, and I admire what I don't know the name of the designer, but what they did with This War of Mine. the way
Oh
the
yeah.
story integrates with the very simple, very minimal mechanics is amazing. And the way that each time you play it, you get a different story and a different feeling and a different progression of the characters is really something that I wish one day I can make by myself.
Very good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a
The
good game for
designers of
sure.
that game are Mikhail Orax and Jakub Wisniewski. And I'm probably mangling their names.
And hats off to you, sir. You
I'm
did
gonna
better than
take.
I
I'm
would.
gonna fall on that sword, Michael. I'm not
That's
gonna
fine.
make you pronounce those names.
Appreciate that. Dustin, how about you? What's one solo game out there you wish you had designed yourself?
Well, since I would not call myself a designer, but publishing, I
Right,
could
right.
definitely chime in.
That'll work.
Yeah, so the one actually that I tried to get, but was Under Falling Skies. So I played the PNP because again it was another contest design entry. I think it was the 9-card contest on that one, and played it, and I was like, "This is awesome!" And I like pinged. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I think his first name is Tomas. I pinged him, and I think he actually either at the time was working with Czech Games or worked for them, and he's like, "Well, they're taking a look at it, but if they pass on it, I'll let you know." I'm like, oh, okay. And then sure enough, like I think, maybe a few months later, we went to Origins and they had it there demoing at their booth. And I was like, dang it, man, I really would have liked to have that one. But that one's great. It's just a fun game to play. And the production they did on that one was also just amazing. I don't know if we could have done that good, but I'm glad it got published and it's a cool one. But that was definitely the one that I was like, man, that'd have been nice to have.
Yeah, that was a good one, and it does seem to fit right in the side room games slate
Yeah.
of games. It's definitely right up your alley.
Yeah.
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 I'm ashamed to say I actually haven't played that one yet.
Yeah, it was hard to find a copy, and I think they finally got back in stock. I think it was maybe one of the smaller board game shops that I found online, and I was able to get a copy. And but it was
Yeah.
definitely worth it. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's up there right now. It's so hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of a question in a similar vein. Who do you think are the top solo game designers right now, and what do you think makes them successful? Ben, do you want to weigh in on this one?
Yeah, I think the top one for me is David Terzi.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Uh,
Yeah.
Anything that he touches is a great solo variant of
Right.
big games, right? And I have had the chance to get a couple of my posts answered by him,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the key to that success, to having that those great designs, is availability of people playing it.
Right.
And he will tell you that also. He uh, he relies a lot on play testers
Mm-hmm.
to heavily play the game until they are tired of it,
Right.
and to figure out what is important on your decisions and the decisions that the other players are making, to boil that down into a script or a card or two options that you have to look at. I think it's a great methodology that he uses for designing solo variants.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? I've not played a lot. I think I played his solo mode for Blitzkrieg by Paolo Mori, which is a if nobody's played it, and it's kind of hard to find right now, but it is a play all of World War II in about 20 minutes. and but it really makes you feel like because it's super abstracted, super high level. There's all these different theaters of war, and then it's basically a tug of war between the Allies and the Axis powers.
Mhm.
But it's a two-player game, and somehow David Turchi, figured out a great solo mode for it. Which and this I react this way to his solo modes quite a bit, where it's like at first it's like, wow, that's a that's a long kind of decision tree. But once you actually go through it, you realize, oh, because it covers all of these, like, edge cases and
Exceptions.
whatever
Yeah,
exceptions. But once you just play it a few times, then you realize it's going to flow very smoothly, and that was kind of like my experience with that. So I think that people get intimidated at first by the apparent complexity of the solo mode, but then afterward, if you just keep going, you're like, oh, okay, it seems to flow really well, and that has been my experience so far.
yeah, I
Um,
agree.
yeah, Dustin, who do you think are the top solo game designers right now?
Well, if I can't pick Ben, because that might be too biased, and I'll continue to be biased, and I hate to say it, but Mark Tuck, who designed Orchard, he
Yeah.
has a handful of other ones out there that he's done like for print and plays and contests, and I just love his sort of simplistic but like elegant designs. They're usually kind of small footprints, but there's just he has a way of coming up with unique puzzles that I kind of prefer in my solo games, where it's just that right mix of like a little bit of thinking, a little bit of chance, and you can kind of play him over and over again. And so he's got some great stuff. And so, uh, other than kind of picking the obvious, like Ben mentioned, with David, Mark does some really good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, and another game that I am ashamed to say that I haven't played yet is Orchard. I see people posting about it all the time, and then they say, "Hey, I got this score," which in the rule book says, and it's like a pun,
Yep.
the ranking.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like, but okay, just full disclosure, me personally, I'm not that big of a abstract puzzle gamer. I don't know. I've tried. My brain doesn't work that way. For example, Sprawlopolis is a
Mm-hmm.
very, very popular. Like a lot of
Yep.
folks like it for solo. And I made the print and play, and I tried it. Every few months, I'll try it again. I'll put it back on the table, and I'm like, maybe this time it'll click. And I just like my brain is like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I got to cover this. I need a story. I need. I guess you could say I'm much more of a thematic gamer. So that's kind of like how my brain works. Yeah. Michael, I'm passing it off to you. What do you got?
So, Ben and Dustin, what solo projects are you working on now that you're able to share with us? And what do you have to look forward to? Ben, why don't you start off?
I'm actually working on a game for this year's contest. It's called Like Herding Cats.
That sounds interesting. Tell us about that a little bit more.
And as the name says, you are pretty much herding cats. You are trying to get all of your cats upstairs for the night,
I
and
like it.
the game plays on the mood of the cats. You have to convince them to settle down to be able to pick them up, but some might want at some point food, some might want just affection, and others might just be going crazy and don't want to be picked up right now. Um, I
Right.
have been working for like a month now on it, and I'm liking the mechanics, how they feel. Other than that, right now I'm preparing for the solo contest, like to kind of sort of host it, um, along with Martin here.
Yep,
Awesome.
Uh,
definitely.
so yeah, it's just psychologically preparing for the work that's ahead.
So, how do you just focus on one game at a time, or do you have other ideas that you jump around between? Or
No, I have like 40, 50 ideas
oh wow,
at different stages and different progressions. Um, I don't have that many solo games, curiously, even though I'm a
okay,
solo player most of the time and most of my life.
hmm.
Games, I don't like solo variants that much for my games. And since I usually focus on the mechanics of the game first and then the theme, it's kind of hard to come up with solo mechanics, solo unique mechanics. So
Right.
yeah, it's weird how I don't have that many solo games. I
Well,
should I should maybe dig deeper there.
well, I mean, I think it's fair to say that if you've got 40 to 50 ideas in the hopper, that you could probably turn it into a solo game, perhaps, right? Maybe, possibly.
Yeah, yeah. There
Speaking
must
for
be
our family.
something in there.
Yeah, say maybe somewhere. All right, cool. Thanks. So, Dustin, same question, but obviously not what you're designing, but anything that Side Room Games is working on currently that we could look forward to that you can talk about. That is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we obviously, Mechanical Beast is going strong on Kickstarter now. So go check that one out for sure. And then so we have this late summer, maybe early fall. We're still working on the timing. We have the sequel to Orchard. It's
Mm.
from Mark Tuck called Grove, and so basically uses some of those similar uh, mechanisms that are in Orchard and kind of Grove.
Yeah, Grove.
Grove, in case I maybe misspoke. Yeah, so it uses some of the similar mechanisms from Orchard, but has a couple of unique new twists on it. So we're really looking forward to that one. I've played that one a ton on the print and play that he's been working on, and it's super fun, just as fun, if not a little bit more fun than Orchard for me, because he also adds in a new aspect where there's recipe cards where you're basically trying to score a specific amount of points with some kind of extra, scoring pieces in there. So that one's really fun. So that we're really excited for that one. And then we also have Village Builder, which I believe was last year's 2020's solo contest winner.
Yep.
I'd have to go back and look. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
So we have that one under contract. The plan is for that one potentially this fall, although we are realizing that trying to do 4 Kickstarters in 1 year is a little much. So
Mhm.
we may push that one to beginning of 22. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But really excited for that one. Janine Viglietti is the designer on
Yes.
that one, and she's also doing the art and graphic design. And if you've seen her work,
Yes.
she helps out a ton of folks like in contests, like do art and stuff on their games, and she's awesome. And so that one is going to be really good too. So we're working on that one as well. And then and then that's probably the 2 biggest solo projects we have. We have a couple of the 54 card contest games that are we'll probably look for early 22 as well. And then we have a pretty big project that we're working on that'll probably be our biggest game to date. It'll be sometime in 22, but we're still working on that one. So that will have definitely a solo mode in it, but it's definitely a big sprawling beast of a game. So
Nice.
And I'm still on the playtester list for that one, right, Dustin?
absolutely, yes.
On a personal note, I just want to say kudos to selecting Village Builder, and I just want to echo Janine Viglietti is an amazing collaborator. I've worked with her on more than 2 occasions on different projects, and she's just somebody who really cares a lot and is obviously a super talented graphic designer. It's been really great to work with her, and I couldn't be more excited for Village Builder to be getting a Kickstarter later this year, so or next year. So that's amazing. Yeah, looks like. Oh, we've got another question here. So this is again for Ben and Dustin. Are you drawn more towards simplicity in a game or complexity, and why? Ben, I'll drop that question in your lap and make of it what you will.
Yes, um, both,
Okay.
both, and it depends a lot on the mood, of course, and the time available. I love simplicity. I love when something that is just basic works, and it's when it's translated to an amazing game, and it's just like 2 3 options, 2 3 movements. So I love simple games, but I'm attracted more towards the bigger, more complex, more heavy games. Uh, like I said, my number one is Spirit Island. My number two
Mm-hmm.
is probably Anachrony.
Mm-hmm.
I love Lacerda.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, I have a lot of heavy games, and whenever I have time and tranquility to play them, I will. But I like also simple games.
And you'll teach me Anachrony, right?
Sure, anytime.
Because it's still sitting in shrink on my table, literally on
Come
my table right
on,
now, and it's very intimidating.
it is.
Every time I pass by the table, I feel them staring at me, judging me. It's like, why haven't you learned this yet? Why haven't you opened up the shrink?
You should just dive into it. It's very intimidating, but the flow is very intuitive, and the graphic design is actually quite good. So you only need to know the basics, and the game explains itself.
All right.
It's a lot of components. It's a ton of rules in the rule book, but like you said, it's just edge cases and exceptions and things that you rarely get to see. So yeah, it's not as complex as it looks.
All right. I'll trust you on that one. Also, if I fail miserably, I will blame you. No, I'm just kidding.
Of course.
Dustin, same question. What attracts you more in a solo game? Is it simplicity or complexity?
I think right now I'm leaning towards more of the simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've caught myself over the last at least year or two, especially since either me playing by myself like quickly a game or me playing with my boys because they're
Mm-hmm.
9 and 6, and so
Yeah.
while the older one is pretty good about kind of catching on to like some of the more complex stuff. So my the 6-year-old, he's still kind of catching things, and so when I play games with him, like we usually shoot for games like Azul or games like Sagrada, where the mechanics and the mechanisms and the rules are pretty simple and straightforward, but there's a lot of meat on the bones as far as like the tactics and how to play. And so I found myself kind of getting drawn more and more toward those games. I have a feeling that as they get older and I start playing more with them, they'll start wanting to do some of those big, more complex story games, and then we'll start diving into all the other stuff that I've bought that's just waiting on the shelf for somebody to play with.
That's exciting. It's great to have that to look forward to. I have a 22-year-old daughter who lives here, and she will only ever play a game with me that she knows she can completely destroy me at. So she that's what she lives for. She doesn't just want to win. She wants to eradicate. She wants to crush me underfoot. So yeah,
My
she's kind of a yeah.
my wife always gets on me because she's like, "Why don't you ever let the kids win at board games when you guys play?" I'm like, "I play to win. Like they got to learn. That's how I grew up. You played a game and you got stomped when you played old Nintendo games that were
Oh
super
yeah.
mean and unfair, and they just kicked you in the teeth, and like they got to learn."
That's how you learn best, from permadeath, right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
You gotta earn your wins.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh! Now I'm getting flashbacks to Mega Man and how I could never get past stage 1 on the
Oh yeah.
NES.
I was thinking about it yesterday. Ninja Gaiden. That game made me
Oh
so
gosh.
mad all the
Oh
time.
Yep.
man, that and the controls were okay. You know what? This has suddenly become a
Here we go.
classic video game podcast, which happens to us every episode. And by the way, Michael, aren't we contractually obligated to mention the movie Aliens in every single show? And we haven't so far. Oops, we
Yeah.
just did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we just did. There you go.
There was
It
a
happened.
Sega Genesis cartridge called Alien 3, I believe. It was a game on that particular subject that was incredibly maddening, almost Ninja Gaiden levels of maddening. That and the Batman game as well that came out for the Genesis back in, gosh, I don't remember, 89, 90, 91. Drove me
Yeah,
nuts.
based on the first movie with
Yeah.
with
Michael
Michael
Keaton.
Keaton.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh wow. I can just see the graphics in my head right now. Thanks,
Yep.
Michael.
Yep. I know.
I'm gonna.
That's what I pictured.
All right. I guess thank you so much. We're gonna wrap this up here. Ben, any last words before we go?
No, just to thank you for the invitation, for having us here, and for the nice little chat of about an hour.
Yeah.
entertainment for Sunday.
It has been very, very pleasant, and like I said, for me, very personally exciting because this is the first time we're actually speaking after so many interactions in text online on BGG on Facebook. So
I know it's
very
good to play to put a voice to a name.
yeah, absolutely.
Maybe one day we'll meet in person.
Yeah, looking forward to that one.
Dustin, any last words yourself before we sign off?
Yeah, just thanks for having us on, like Ben said, and Mechanical Beast Kickstarter still going strong, so go check it out if you haven't. And then, we're pretty active on social media and on the Board Game Geek forum, so if anybody out there has any questions or wants to reach out, we're also planning on going to Origins in end of September, October. So if folks are out there and want to say hi, and usually when we go to those places, we usually try to set up some potential playtests. So if anybody's got any games they want us to take a look at, feel free to reach out, and we can maybe see if we can set something up.
Awesome. Good
That's
deal.
awesome.
It's also nice to see Origins coming back, even if it's going to be somewhat limited as it was in the past. But I've only been a couple of times, and that was, almost 16 years ago. But yeah, it's still a pretty amazing event. So that's good to see normalcy returning there.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Dustin, for joining us today. And thank you all for listening to the show. I'm Michael Eckenfels.
I'm Martin Gonzalez.
I'm Ben Morayta.
And I'm Dustin Culbertson.
And this was episode 80 of the Solosaurus podcast. As always, we are part of the Dice Tower Network. For even more Solosaurus, join our post-show discussions and other shenanigans on Facebook at facebook.com/Solosaurus. Follow us on Instagram or shoot us an email at solosauruspodcast@gmail.com.
And you can find us on Board Game Geek. The quickest way because really, you don't want to spend the time learning how to search for Solosaurus using BGG's search feature, internal search feature. Just go to your favorite search engine and type in Solosaurus BGG, and you will find our homepage there. And as always, if you would like to have your very own Solosaurus micro badge to show off your appreciation of our show, please reach out to me on Board Game Geek. My handle is Dr. Henry Armitage. That's Dr. Henry Armitage, and I will spot you the Geek Gold so that you can purchase and equip your very own Solosaurus micro badge.
Very generous of you, Martin. You should probably just change your name to Blame Martin G at this point, though.
I should, yeah. Or at give me a Solosaurus micro badge.
There you go. Yeah. Quick copyright that. Okay. Thanks again to Stone Valley Games for being our sponsor. And as always, if there's any particular games you'd like us to take a look at, send us an email, or better yet, drop us a message on Facebook. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, everybody. Bye now.